Hi guys, hope you're all well. I'm doing this short video because I keep getting messages about people asking me about my sort of own experiences with the spiritual world, how it all sort of started, how it came about, did I have any experiences when I grew up, and I was going to type sort of a big blog about it all, but I thought it'd be easier to try and just put it into a video really, because there's lots that's happened to me and it's all sort of been throughout my life really. So I thought it's just easier to sort of give you a little bit of a background on me and my story really. So I hope you find it interesting, and yeah, see what happens. So it kind of all started for me very much when I was about the age of sort of 7 or 8, and my first real experience that I can remember with the spiritual world was I was in a maths class one day, and the teacher was there talking away and all the rest of it, and then there was a gentleman sort of sitting down, quite well dressed, quite nice looking. I'd say he was fairly old, around sort of, I don't know, late 50s, that kind of age. And like the teacher hadn't introduced who he was to the rest of the class, which I thought was a little bit strange in itself anyway. And sort of the person that was sitting next to me, I said, oh, do you know who this teacher is? Because he's not been introduced. I thought this was a bit strange. And the kid next to me said, what are you talking about? There's nobody there. And I quickly realised that obviously this was a spirit of some kind, but nobody else could see him. And I sort of was kind of staring at him and looking at him, and the gentleman was looking around and acknowledging all of the people in the class, but he did keep sort of coming back and looking at me. And I thought, okay, this is really weird. And he was just sort of like smiling really. So I thought that was pretty strange. And then it's not until later on I sort of realised obviously that was a spirit. So that was my first major encounter with the spiritual world. But because I saw them as a physical person rather than sort of see through them or anything, I didn't think it was weird. It just was natural. I was more concerned why hadn't he been introduced, because I thought it was quite rude at the time. I later sort of feel that it's probably a guide of mine that I was actually seeing. So yeah, that was my first sort of major big experience of the spiritual world, which was quite sort of nice because it wasn't scary. I can't say, oh, it left me petrified, because it really didn't. I just felt complete comfort. And when I actually realised later on down the road that it was probably a spirit, a spirit person, I actually took comfort in that, knowing that I'd seen it firsthand. So that was really nice. So that was kind of the start of my spiritual awakening really for me. School was quite hard actually. It was quite a dark period of my life. It was probably the hardest part of growing up, and the hardest part of my life really has been my college days. And I've blocked quite a lot of it out because it wasn't nice. I was bullied. I don't mind sort of being bullied. It's just it was every day. So I kind of didn't get any sort of break from it. So I had to really throw myself into my work. That kept me going. Not my spiritual work back then obviously. So art and photography, everything creative, that really saved me, to be honest. And I'd had a lot of dark thoughts. Also, it wasn't just the bullying, it was being gay as well, and it was sort of coming to terms with all of that. And it was a hard period of my life really. So yes, there was, looking back, a lot of things spiritually that were happening, but some of the darker stuff was overshadowing in it. But through all of it, my granddad, who passed when I was very young, I always sort of sent my thoughts to him in my head, and obviously now I know he's become a guide as well, as a family helper and a guardian angel really. But the way that he passed was really, really tragic. It was really dark. He actually took his own life in suicide, and because I've seen the devastation that's caused to others in the family, that actually kept me going as well in a way. So even though I didn't really know him that well, on many levels he's actually saved me. So that in itself is a spiritual experience, because had I not have been aware of that's gone on within the family, my college days were so dark, I probably wouldn't be here in my own rights now. So knowing the devastation that caused, particularly to my mum and to her side of the family, that actually kept me going. And the more I sort of was thinking about that over time as I was getting older, I used to think about my granddad quite a lot. I actually was feeling his energy coming in. I knew it was him, but I didn't ever see him physically. Everything with him is energy work. So it took me a long time to trust that what I was getting was from him, but I just had this feeling that it was. And that sounds a little bit egotistic saying it in that way, but that is how it felt for me, really. So that was a big experience as well. And then as the sort of as I got older, I suppose nothing really happened until I was about 15. And then another really weird sort of definite pinnacle moment happened. It was around Christmas time, and we had a massive sort of fern tree out the front of our house. And I clearly remember one day walking outside, and there was this little man just standing looking at me, and he was dressed in what I can only describe as like a little Santa's elf. That's how he looked to me. And I looked at him, he ran round the tree, and then he literally ran into the tree. And I went chasing after him thinking, who is he? You know, who is this? And I just assumed, being Christmas time, it was somebody dressed up and taking the piss, basically. And it wasn't. And that was my first encounter with the otherworldly, not just spiritual, but the more sort of magical side, if you like, that's out there. I'm a firm believer in other realms, other worlds, not just the spiritual world. And that's always left me really baffled, because it was so quick, but it was so definite. So it was another really weird experience, but I thought, okay. And I've been told before when I've had readings from people that there is a little dwarf that's with me. So whether they're picking up on this gentleman, I still don't know to this day who he was. He's obviously somebody that's, that's been around me. I haven't really ever sensed him since, if I'm being honest, and I've certainly never seen him in as much detail since. But yeah, it was very weird indeed. So that's been another sort of strange experience. And from about the age of 15 to sort of 18, I went through a really dark sort of period college-wise. And it really was just chuck myself into my art and my photography and anything creative. That energy kept me going, basically. So I think it blocked quite a lot of my spiritual work. I think there was other sort of things that were being given to me, but it's almost like I was pushing it away. At that period of my life, there was quite a lot of conflict with my dad. He struggled to understand or accept about me being gay, and it took him a long time to get his head around it, really. And we're fine now. We're very close. We're the closest we've ever been. He doesn't necessarily understand the work I do. I don't necessarily understand his way of life. I think he's quite traditional, quite black and white. But we've got a mutual respect for each other, and we do love each other unconditionally, which is really nice that we've been able to work through that and put our own personal differences aside, if you like. So that's really nice to be able to sort of have that connection with him, even though we are very much yin and yang energy. And then we kind of get to when I was around sort of, I must have been about 25, 24, something like that. And it was quite a sad time because Paul's mum, my partner, his mum passed away, and it hit the family really hard. It hit Paul really hard. It was hard for everybody involved, really. And that's really, I feel, when my spiritual awakening kind of happened. I used to work in a bed shop, and it was really random. One day a customer came in, she was actually a medium, and she said to me, I see you having a career on stage. And I thought, oh, this is a bit strange. I'm trying to sell you a bed here. But as well as doing my sort of my bed shop work, I actually was on the sidelines a drag queen, Cher impersonator. Okay, and so it was quite weird that she picked up on that, and she sort of explained, oh, I'm a psychic, I'm a medium, I'm this, that and the other. And we got talking, and she gave me like a little mini reading, really. And she said, oh, I see you having a short career doing some sort of performance stage, like dressed up, drag, that sort of thing, but it's going to be short-lived and it's going to come to an abrupt end. And she said, and then you're going to do your real work, what you're really destined to do. And I didn't really know what she meant by that at first. She wasn't very clear, and it wasn't until later on she sort of said that she felt I was a spiritual medium, had the gift, always had the gift from a young age, and there was an energy sort of there that I could tap into as and when I wanted to. And I just thought, I don't think so. I mean, yes, I had a few little bits and pieces growing up, but to me, I didn't feel there was anything concrete there, or definite, to take it anywhere, really. So I didn't really give it a second thought. And she also then picked up on my partner's mum, who had very recently passed when this happened, and she said, you know, there is a lady here for your partner. And she sort of explained, you know, how she looked, how she passed over, and she said she felt it was a mum vibration, and I was just shocked. And for the next 2 to 3 weeks, once I told Paul, we literally were just like, oh my god, it was amazing. And we actually went to see her that night. She invited us along to a demo she was doing, so we went along and saw her there, and it was amazing, and it really opened our eyes up. And it's almost like since then, I viewed the world differently, really, because I just thought there's no way, she's just walked in off the street, there's no way she would know what she's coming out with. It was amazing. And yes, some people say, oh, you can cold read, you can do this and that. That wasn't cold reading. This was personal details, something that only me and Paul would know, some of what was given. Truly amazing, and to me, to that day, that's probably still one of the best readings I've ever personally received and been fortunate to get, really, from her. And it was just a case of being in the right place at the right time, which is how spirit work a lot of the time, I tend to think. So yeah, and anyway, then like the years went past, and everything she said came true. I did have a short career sort of being a share impersonator. It did come to a really abrupt end. It was a horrible experience, as it turned out to be. I was doing a pub in Worthing one night, and literally I got booed off stage. But it wasn't just getting booed off stage. I had a dressing down from the owner. I was torn to pieces, really. So it wasn't nice, and it's kind of like my whole world as I knew it came crashing down, really. But I'm so thankful that I went through that now, because that's given me the strength and the courage to really do the platform work and the demonstrations that I do and the work that Spirit allowed me to do. Because I know that if I didn't do, if I hadn't been booed off stage, I don't think I'd be able to get up in front of an audience and to just say what comes from Spirit. I don't think I would have that strength. But before I go on stage now, no matter however nervous or scared I feel, because I do get really nervous and really scared, I just think, well, you know what, I've been booed off stage in full drag, so nothing can really be as bad as that. So I try and turn it into a joke, and that normally gives me the strength to get through it, even though I'm petrified and shaking. And those other mediums that have worked alongside me, they see how nervous I get before, pacing up and down, they see my hands getting sweaty and all the rest of it. Not very pleasant, but, you know, it is what it is, really. But it's really weird that from that reading, like I say, that was really the kickstart to my spiritual journey. And then, you know, time went on, and what I was finding was Spirit were actually wanting to work with me, and I'd be getting snippets of information, or I'd be seeing people randomly when I was with customers in the bed shop that I used to work in. And I thought, this is really weird. And I kind of knew that it was some sort of energy work, and, you know, I knew that there was something going on, but it didn't scare me. I just thought, it's really random, there's no pattern to it, you know. And especially if people were troubled, if there were customers coming in and they were troubled, I was seeming to pick up stuff from them quite easily, and it was just flowing. And I thought, this can't be right, you know. And then one day another lady came into the shop, and she introduced me to quite a few things, which I'm very grateful for, one of them being tarot. And I actually did a course with her in learning how the tarot works, something that had always fascinated me, but I thought, oh, I can never read the tarot, it's too complicated. I did a course with her, and it was one of the best things I ever did, because through that I was able to sort of tune my energy, and my psychic work was really kicking off then. And I spent a whole year doing free readings for people, friends, family, whoever would want a reading, basically. And it was amazing. But even at that time, I didn't feel I was a spiritual medium. I felt I got bits and pieces, but that was really the extent of it. I was a tarot reader, and I was happy being a tarot reader. That's just how it worked for me. And whilst this was developing and going really quite nicely, I was becoming more depressed with my day job, because everything that I once thought I wanted was sort of, you know, it was slipping away, really. It was the natural progression. You know, I wasn't happy. I was earning amazing money, really good money, but money doesn't buy you happiness, and I just was not happy. And then the managers changed one day, and we got a new guy in who was quite homophobic, and I just thought, oh my god, here we go. And it was almost like I was on a loop back when I was at school, and I thought, you know what, I'm not going to be put in that position again. Anyway, I sort of gritted my teeth and bared it for the next couple of months, and then it got to the stage one day where I was just in the shop on my own, looking out the window, and I saw my nan. I was really close to my nan, that's my mum's mum. A lot of people didn't get on with her, they were a little bit scared of her, but we just had this mutual respect, and we just loved each other unconditionally. And I saw her clear as day in the doorway, and she was just looking at me as if like, what are you doing? You know, she's the sort of lady, even if she didn't understand something, or she didn't really get why you wanted to do it, she wouldn't hold you back. She was very supportive in that way. And sorry, she's rubbing my nose because that's one of the signs I know she's around. She rubs my nose. Okay, and it's almost like she gave me the strength to really walk away from where I was because I was so unhappy. And I'm eternally grateful for that, really, because if I hadn't have done that, I would have still been there now. And I'm just thinking to myself, there's people I know that still work there now that aren't entirely happy, and I think, how can you just go on with that? And I've always been a believer, regardless of my spiritual work, if you have to do something every day, you have to love what you do and be passionate about it. And once that ends and that stops, it's time for a new journey. It doesn't change the good stuff you've had from there, because there has been some amazing stuff. But it just means, you know, there's new adventures to go on, really. And that was with me. I was at the stage where I needed a new adventure, and the spirit world knew that, which is why they were giving me so many signs, but I was just kind of pushing them away, not wanting to know, even though I knew what I had to do. And it was lovely to see my nan so clearly. It was something just between me and her. There was nobody else in the shop at the time. And, you know, she basically said to me, you need to just get on with this now, because you know that there's more to life, there's something bigger than just what you're doing. And she was right. She was absolutely right. So from then, oh well, we had a day where it was me and just the manager in the shop, and you know, he knew a little bit about the mediumship work that I was doing, because at that point I joined a development group and I was doing quite well with all that. So, and he'd heard things from different people, you know, but he never really wanted to know. And it was just us two in the shop on our own one day, and he was getting quite like rude with me and quite disrespectful to the spiritual work and me as a person. And you know, he sort of said, basically, if there is such a thing, I want you to prove it. And I actually got really angry at first, and I thought, well, you know what, I'm not a performing like puppet on a string that you can just pull. And then like it's almost like somebody whispered in my ear, and again a guide came very close to me. They said, come on then, let's do this. And I thought, really? So I said, right, okay, I'll make a deal with you, with the spirit world. And it basically was, if they can give me something to prove the continuity of life after death, physical death, I will, you know, I will walk away from the job. And it was really weird, because I'd actually had my notice in my bag. I'd written it out in the morning and had it ready because I was so cheesed off at that point. Anyway, so I asked my spirit guides, called them in, asked my angels and helpers to work with me and to give me some validation for him. And with that, his mum came through. They passed on her name, how she passed over, her the day she died, the date. Then they also brought through an uncle, again names, which I don't always get names that well from my own interpretation, but everything was being given, and it was bang on, and it was amazing. And it really scared my manager, really scared him. He actually went out into the car park and he was pacing up and down having a cigarette because he was so taken aback by it. And he knew the information I'd given him, it wasn't stuff you can just find on Facebook. You know, it wasn't stuff you could just sort of Google and find out about. It was personal stuff, only he would know. And from that moment he wanted me to stay, and that's when I handed in my notice, and it was the best feeling in the world. And I was meant to give 2 months, but I gave a couple of weeks in the end, and I just thought, you know what, stick your job. And I knew at that point that I was ready for my personal journey into sort of working fully for spirit, really, and it was amazing. So those have really been my big highlights, if you like. There's been so much other stuff that's happened, but again, it's always been quick, And a lot of the time when I'm working spiritually as well, I do forget what's sort of given to me afterwards. So if I was to really think back on stuff, there's been some other most amazing experiences I've been privileged to, but that's really my journey to kind of, in a nutshell, in a quickened version, to where I am now, really. And it's really nice. I love the work I do. I love the fact that if I can, bring forward validation from the spirit world, and if it resonates with somebody and they know, matter of fact, there's no way I would know that, I've done my job. And I think it's important to remember, as a spiritual medium, my job isn't to kind of convince people that there is an afterlife or anything like that. I'm not here to sort of like make people conform a certain way. My job simply is, as a spiritual medium, to link with spirit, to pass on what they want the person to know who's in front of me, the client at the time. And that's my job done. And then as the client, it's down to you really, if you want to accept it and believe it and take it, or if you want to sort of like pick it to pieces and actually you may disregard it. It's entirely up to you. But as long as I know that I've given, to the best of the ability that Spirit have allowed me, what they want to pass on, I've done my job as a medium, and that's the most important thing. I purely am just a voice box for the spirit world. And a wise owl taught me that from a very early point, really, and I'm so blessed that she did do that, because as I've progressed with my own journey, I've seen certain mediums who sort of, they think it's all about them, they're doing this, they're doing that, and it isn't. At the end of the day, spirit are communicating. It's very much you pick up the telephone piece, and you're the voice box for them, but they're in control. And as soon as you think it's you giving it rather than them, you've lost, you've actually lost your connection, really. And that's very much how I view the work I do spiritually. And I try to keep, I try to stay true and work in love and light, very much so. Another really weird experience that happened not that long ago, and it's happened quite a few times actually, and it tends to happen when I'm getting a bit stressed or I'm overthinking things. Spirit have a habit of doing some physical sort of mediumship, so they'll actually turn things off in my home. And I remember a while ago, this was last year, I was organising quite a big fair in Taunton, and it was for a charity fair, and it was for a charity called Think Amy. You may have seen about it on my Facebook, or you may have seen about it on my website. There are links to it. I suggest, if you haven't already, go and check it out. It's really important. It's a really important charity that's very close to my heart, actually. And I was organising a really big fair for them, or trying to. And I remember one day I was washing up. I had all these ideas going on, but I didn't know how to kind of put it together. And it was kind of really stressing me out, really. And I was washing up anyway. I had like the music going as well. And then literally, like, it was weird. Like the music started sort of crackling and changing, and then that turned itself off. And I thought, oh, what's going on here? So that was strange in itself. But then I also was like, while I was washing up, I was using my phone with the Wi-Fi, and I was trying to message quite a few people that I really wanted to be part of the fair, and trying to find out what was going on, could they get back to me, and all the rest of it. And then like I lost all sort of internet connection on my phone, and I thought, oh no, the electric's gone, because like where I live, I'm on an electric key. So I thought, oh bloody hell, I'm gonna have to go and get some electric. And I thought, oh, I'll actually just check that, like, that it is the electric. So I switched on a light, and the light came on. So I thought, oh, okay, it can't be the electric. So I went into the front room, where the plug is for the Wi-Fi Virgin box thing, and there's only me in the house, and it turned itself off. And I was like, oh, okay, someone's obviously telling me they want me to just switch off for a bit from it. And that's actually happened quite a few times when I get like that. And that particular day, it happened 3 other times afterwards, really randomly. There was no sort of time period for it. There was nothing dodgy with the switch. It was just Spirit's way of saying, look, slow down. Have a rest. Have a rest. Breast? No, not good. Have a rest. So that was really, that's kind of how I get a lot of my sort of information. It's quite definite and precise, and there's no rhyme or reason. So when people say, oh, your own experiences, they're very different. They're very different with each sort of person and how I'm feeling. There's no set pattern. And when I'm doing a reading, it's the same. Sometimes I will physically see a person. A lot of the time it's through the third eye. Quite a lot lately I've been hearing spirit. That's how they work with me. And a lot of the time they put pictures in front of me, and then I have to sort of pick that out and put that into a message. So you know, there's been all these weird little things, and I kind of feel it's my journey so far, and it's kind of all built up to where I am at the moment. And in a lot of ways, I'm probably the poorest I've ever been, materialistic wise, but I'm the happiest I've ever been. I've got some amazing people in my life at the moment, and they're people that I truly want in my life. There's so many lessons I've learned from them that they don't realise, and hopefully vice versa, I don't know. So yeah, life is good at the moment. So for anyone that's kind of on the starting point of their journey, and if they've had similar experiences growing up where they've seen things or weird things have happened that they can't explain, I really encourage you to join a development circle, because it is the best place to learn. You learn from the basics right through to sort of the advanced level, you know. And again, there's no time periods with spirit. It's different for every individual. I now realise that spirit were working with me a lot longer, which is why my personal development, I feel, has been quite quick in terms of progress. A lot's happened for me within sort of a year's period, really, if I look back over it from that. And it's amazing. It's quite scary when I look back over it, and I am excited for where it's going to take me next, really. But yeah, anybody that's getting, you know, these things or these sort of experiences and it's scaring them, don't be scared, because it is just your loved ones and your guides and your angels and helpers wanting to work with you. And the reason that they sometimes get quite intense is because they feel you're ready, basically, and you now need to look at that. And a lot of the time when we're at our lowest points, that's when they connect with us the strongest. Because if I look back over some of my experiences, a lot of the time things have happened that have been quite intense when I've either been very frustrated, very emotional, very up and down. Okay, that's when they've come in very close to me, and I have recognized that energy, which is really important, because I do feel like in a lot of ways they've steered me back on track, and they've saved me in a lot of ways, to be honest. You know, so that's really my journey, as a lot of people have been private messaging me wanting to know, you know, how it all came about and how it all started. Some people have said there seems to be a mystique to me. Well, I don't really feel that. I mean, I'm just Mitch. I just do my own thing. You know, I'm happy working for spirit. I feel truly blessed for the people that I've been able to read for. You know, amazing, absolutely amazing. Thank you so much to the ones that follow me and support me, because I have got quite a nice little support network of people that, you know, they are very true to me. And one thing that I will say as well, when we're doing sort of spiritual work, because I had this the other day actually, somebody for one of my events that's coming up, they sort of made out as if I was a con man. And this is somebody that's never had a reading with me. They've probably never even had a reading with any medium. You know, they're very much still in the sort of physical world, and it's almost like they're scared to actually feel there could be something more to life than just us. But I actually feel that's really arrogant and very ignorant if that's how you feel about life, to think it's just us. You know, the world is so big, and there's so many things we've only touched the iceberg on, really. It's quite insulting when you look at it like that. But you know, with energy work, you know, it's one of those things, because sometimes people can't see it and you have to work with it in a different way. It does scare people. But it's like with any profession, there's good and bad. You know, I mean, there's hairdressers that are good and bad. Not everybody has an amazing haircut. There's so many things you can put things to that are good and bad. And you know, yeah, there are some mediums out there that are charlatans, sadly, but it's no different to anything else. It's just that it gets homed in on a lot more. And I actually did sort of take offence for a little while from when I saw this comment on there. I thought, well, how dare you slag off an event I'm doing when you don't know anything about me, you've never been to see me and see the work that spirit allow me to do. I thought it was bloody rude, but then I actually stopped and thought, why am I wasting my energy on that? And I sent it away with love and light, and I actually wished that person love and light and gave them some distant healing. So for any of you out there that are going through that, you know, where you're getting these experiences, or you're getting these you know, these things from spirit, and you're wanting to develop, but you know, you're worried about what people are going to think, or what people are going to say, or all the rest of it. They're going to think you're weird. You know what? I'm at the stage now where I think people will talk about you behind your back. They'll talk about you when you're, you know, when you're doing well. They'll talk about you when you're down on your luck. They'll always talk about you, good, bad, right or wrong. You know, they'll talk about you when you've passed over. So the best thing you can do is just send that energy away with love, and just do what makes you happy and trust your heart. That's the most important thing. And since me sort of leaving dreams and taking that leap of faith, it's really just put me on a magical journey, really. And I know that I've only just sort of scraped the surface for what spirit have in store for me, and it's scary, but it's amazing as well. So yeah, so that's really my journey and my story up until this point in a nutshell. Obviously it's been shortened down, but I hope it kind of makes sense to you. Like I say, it's only because I kept getting emails I thought I'd do a little video. I'm a bit scared to go live yet. I know a lot of people have been asking me, can I go live and do some sort of messages. I will do that at some point, but for now I'm quite happy to just do my cards, because I think that that's actually really nice. I really like the way that the cards are working. Again, there's quite a nice following with those, so thank you very much if you're someone that does those regularly. I hope that they do relate to you, and you can understand them each week. I know a lot of people have private messaged me saying how much comfort they take from those, so that's just something, a little gift to give back, but I feel so blessed to be able to do that. And if you do find comfort in those, and if they do make sense, that's really amazing, and that in itself shows the power of spirit, you know, which I think should be celebrated, really. So anyway, I could waffle on all day, but I'm not going to, as I've got to take Oscar for a walk, my little doggy. So I'm going to leave it there. I'm going to leave my love and light with you all. I wish you all a magical week and weekend, and yeah, that's it for now. Take care, guys.